ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to GeekVerse Review. My name is Travis Snell, the vet Travis Snell, and I am here to review Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Or really just Bodies times 3, just to shorten it up. I've been trying to do that lately, but then I still say Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. This is a film that, should I get into overall? Should I get into the plugs? I don't know. It's a mixed things. It's late. It's midnight here, but go down links below. You'll find everything. I'm doing the plugs. Get them out of the way. Our social media, where to find us on Discord, audio, video, all that good jazz. We've had a great week. We reviewed I Am Groot. We did our She-Hulk predictions. Dylan's popping off side quests with guests going on. I've done 4 solo casts with the Trash Told Yous. We did a newscast. Tons of fun stuff. And then we got reviews in After 9 this week. And we just the content is just flowing. It's just juicing. And we appreciate everyone. And we appreciate everyone specifically that can, spend a shekel and go over to Patreon, because you guys and gals and everyone in between, you guys are literally the bloodline of this. Listeners, patrons, it's a fan-supported network. As you can see, we podcast from our spare rooms, basement, stuff like that. All this work is we are doing because you support us, and we very much appreciate that. This was a really fun week for me, at least for doing the solo shows. Had some good chats, had some people changing the conversation, and yeah, that's about it. Manscaped, 20% off, free worldwide shipping. You can do that. Right now it's already 20% off, so you can stack it on top of that. It's not 40% off, but still it gets an even better deal. Use the podcast code GVPOD and go to the website. And the more you support the Patreon and the more you support our sponsors, you're supporting us. And the more we get support, more content. And like I said, After 9 is happening this Sunday, 9 a.m. PST. And so Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. This is an A24 film. This is a film that usually nowadays I'm honestly just seeing all A24 films. Not maybe not all in theaters. I didn't see X in theater, but I did see Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then I saw this. And nowadays I am, because much like here at the Geek First, we tend to really like the weird ones. Now, as you can hear, it's just me. So this is one that I'm probably going to recommend to everyone as it goes on. But I think that everyone was less hyped on. I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll catch it at some point. But just to dive right into it, I really, really enjoyed this one. Again, I just keep waiting for lots of stinkers. And there's, I guess I shouldn't say that. I just watched They and Them, and you can go check out my review there. But overall, this year I'm never expecting things to be as good as they can be, and this was better. This was tons of fun. It's very clever. There's many angles to it. The whodunit murder mystery aspect, if you haven't seen, or if you're wondering in the non-spoilers what the film is about, it's a group of friends that get together and play Bodies, 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 and someone is actually dead, and that creates a chaos of events and figuring out of who did it and why and all this stuff. And there's lots of commentary, and there's lots of allusion to this current generation. They hit on, if you saw the trailers, and what is it now? I don't even know. Let me look up, because I feel like I just don't, because I guess it's is it Gen Z age range is what? Is researchers popular media used to mid-late 90s as starting birth years in early 2010s. So I guess, yeah, it's about that. Gen Z, right? It's and millennials. That would be the biggest one that's focusing on us. Anything that's been labeled, I would say, kind of woke, is what this tackles. And I think it does it in a good way, where it doesn't take away some certain things, but it definitely calls out things that are maybe overused or used incorrectly. And it depends if you like it or not. They are gonna, if you've seen the trailer and go, oh, that's already too much for me as far as the commentary, as far as millennials and being woke, it kind of doubles that in the movie. Probably every trope, every kind of tagline, every sort of phrase of speech you could think of, as far as, a safe play, they even have a fucking spin on a Ben Shapiro quote of, facts are not feelings, and so, or facts don't care about your feelings. There's all these kind of, if you've seen on an Instagram, a tweet, especially a TikTok, I feel like this is a TikTok crowd type of movie. Now, and that's what thing, that's the backdrop, right? And that's what uses these characters. And I think the good thing is, even though they make them kind of an overabundant of, the same way I talk about Euphoria, right? Where, okay, some of this bad stuff does happen in schools, right? But Euphoria is, they've taken every bad story about the teenager life and put it into one character with all these people. that's what they do with all the, millennial woke stuff, is they all put everything you've heard or every trope about that into this. Now, excuse me. Now, what I think it still works at is it gives you characters that you are interested in and that you do like, even if they are very over the top. Like someone like Lee Pace, you can tell from the trailer, he was someone I was looking very forward to in this movie, and he delivered 100%. He's very fun in the movie. Pete Davidson, he's great. I'm not one of those that dislikes Pete Davidson. Ever since I've always liked him on SNL, but King of Staten Island, he proved like, okay, no, he can go. And he has a couple scenes in here where it's it's better than you expect. Not better than you expect, but just he's done something a little bit differently. And then the other girl, I got to get her name because I know just her from Borat 2. Really liked her in that, and she's good. And then this other, yeah, Amandel Steenberg. Never seen her in anything, I don't think. I'm just checking right now. Oh, she was in a movie called Everything Everywhere. Everything, Everything. Oh, she was Rue. This girl was Rue. Oh, and she was in The Hate You Give. Okay, so I've seen her in a few things. So she was really good too. Everyone was really good in this, but there's a few people that stuck out, and probably be those four. But no, it's a very enjoyable whodunit. It's very clever as far as, yes, and Maria Bakalova, she's the one that was from Borat too. It it's clever in the social media, social commentary sort of aspect, and then it's clever in the who done it. It does certain aspects keep you guessing, and I think what also helps it's like a brisk 130. And much like a lot of who done it, this plays on, yeah, who do you trust, but then this really plays on your insecurities as a person, or insecurities you have about other people. And that's what I would say, that without spoiling, there is aspects that made me guessing something. There was something I did figure out. I didn't know 100%, but I'm like, I think this is what's going on. And then I did get it. But it's a nice, brisk hour and a half. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It flew by because I was having such a good time. And most of the people in my theater went from just when I bought tickets early for me and one person to like, there was quite a few people in there. And I could tell it was a younger crowd. They seem to be enjoying it. I do think that a younger audience will really like this. I don't know if someone like my parents will, maybe my mom, but I think it is for a certain demographic. But I think this is a movie that I could see a lot of people catching later on. I hope that they go see it in theaters, but catching later on as like a good, fun group activity movie. Yeah, good music. There's some fun shots in there. I would definitely recommend going seeing this. I don't know where I'd place this in my overall rankings of the year. But again, it's still it's tough because like there's just been so many good movies. And this is like a movie that, now here's the thing, I don't think it's like Golden Geese level top 5. I think there might be some maybe performances, but at the end of the day, I know that sounds negative, but it's really good. If you like the horror genre, if you like a mystery, if you like a whodunit, if you like some social commentary, it's kind of all in there. Now, I don't think it's so social commentary that it is very political, but even then, I don't know why it would bug you that much. But if you really, for some reason, didn't want something very political, I don't think it gets to that route. I don't think it never takes itself too seriously, too, but when it does, it feels like a serious kind of horror slasher whodunit in a way. Like it has that vibe. And again, it was also refreshing because something when I watched, not to bring down one thing and raise another, but I was looking for a good whodunit with they them, and I did not get that at all. This delivered on every front with that, and this is one that I would watch again easily. Back half's very clever, but I think that's not one I would need to watch every year or stuff like that. But during a Halloween, or during a, hey, it popped up on Netflix or some streaming service, and go, oh, boys, yeah, that one, I really like it. And I'm excited to see if the other members of GV do see it, and it does pop up around Golden Geeks time. I don't know, like I said, if I would put it in my top 5, maybe not even top 10, but this is a movie that in previous years I would put in my top 10 or top 5, maybe even, because it's good, but this year's just a killer year of movies. So really liked it. Yeah, I'm gonna get into spoilers, so if you've not seen the film, I would recommend it to pretty much anybody, unless you just, like I said, really don't like horror, then it's not for you. But it's not necessarily scary, it's just a murder mystery type. But highly recommend it. I had a really good time with it. I'm excited to watch this with the lady because I think she's gonna enjoy it. And yeah, it was a fun time at the movies. That's the best way. I know some people take fun as like this bad word. It's like, oh, it doesn't mean it doesn't have substance or it's just jokes. You can have fun and have substance, and that's what this movie does. I think it balances it really well. So, yeah, if you don't want any spoilers, anything like that, now's the time to tune out. Go watch the movie, come back. If you don't care if you've seen it, I'm going to take an ad break, and then we're going to get into some spoilers. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So the setup is these characters. There's a woman. I guess I could have done some that's non spoilers, but whatever. There is a female couple. Starts with, I was wondering what was happening because there's lots of like squishy noises going on, and I know, okay, either someone's kissing, or because I think I had seen from the trailers there's some lesbian action going on here, like, or there's going to be a different type of shot that's going to be, something going on. It was just kissing. And what is introduced, I guess, I got the IMDb, so I got the character's name. Sophie and B. Those are the two people I said. Amandal, I'm always going to mess up that word. Amandel Sternberg and Maria Bakova. They show up. They're a couple. They show up to a house party of sorts, more like a get together. It seems like they're staying there for the weekend, and there's a bunch of different characters we meet, like Pete Davidson, Lee Pace, all these other people, right? And you can tell right away there's some tension going on, and there's between the group, because even a few people like, oh, she wasn't supposed to be here, or like, oh, who are you? And like they even Lee Pacey plays this guy named Greg, and he's just someone's boyfriend of 2 weeks that we learn later on. He's like, oh, Sophie, like kind of just doing the reputation to the name. So when the people meet up, it's all friendly, but there's also tons of underlining tension and drama going on, and you're trying to place, okay, what is this? And that's what this is. It's a classic good, not even just murder mystery, but mystery in that point where it's like peeling the layers off. It's peeling like, okay, that makes sense and that makes sense. And it all works and everything like that. And then how this starts is they start to play bodies, bodies, bodies. And then they do a couple good fake outs. Like they do this thing where Greg, Lee Pace, is dead. And I knew, we all know from the trailer, like, okay, they're going to find someone dead. What's going to happen? And he's dead for like quite a while. They're shaking him. It looks like he's not breathing. They're pushing him, everything. Then Pete Davidson's character like touches his balls with a beer, and that wakes him up. He's like, oh, gets him all the time. But they do lots of fun fake outs, lots of tricks in this one as far as the plot going on. So obviously what happens is, and there's tons of tension, right, where Sophie's character are I guess like second main. I would say they position like Maria Bakova B as our main like protagonist. It's really just the whole group, but she's the main one because she's the newcomer. But the girlfriend Sophie, she's like best friends with Pete Davidson, so it's a lot of catching up with characters. And good thing with the characters, the catch up, it never feels too much like exposition. Most of it feels like natural dialogue. It feels like you are listening in on a conversation, but also learning things about these characters. So it never feels like, okay, here's the portion we got to fill you in this or fill you in this. There's the odd time where it's like, did they tell you about this? And they tell you, but you're going to have to do that in these situations. Pete Davidson, he's really good in this role. He has, for some reason, he has this big problem with Lee Pace's character. Doesn't like him, talks about he's not as good looking, he's 40, he's old, all this stuff. And at one point they do this game before they start their bodies, they like slap each other and things like that. I think that's what it was the start of that for. But there's this good scene where they're all slapping around, and B, Maria's character, gives Pete Davidson like a little slap and a couple, and he's like, no, you got to put your arm into it like this. And he just fucking decks Lee Pace's character, and he plays it off as like all joking. And this is, there's not like literally, there's no big twist with this. It's just literally Pete Davidson doesn't like him at all. And later on, he punches him. Lee Pace says something like, oh, well, good defense is a good offense, or something like that. And he's like, what does that mean? A good defense, a good offense? And like, well, a good defense is a good offense. What does that mean? Oh, you've seen sports? And they say, oh, or you just, oh, I see you're fucking with me. It's like, no, I'm not fucking with you. Like, it's a lot of dick measuring, right? So they set things off in a lot of ways where, okay, what's gonna happen? And then what happens is later on we find Pete Davidson's character neck sliced on the ground, dying, and everyone's freaking out, right? And this is where, so if you've watched Who Done It, right away you're at the beginning looking for all these signs to see, okay, who did what, everything like that. And I had my pick of who I thought it was going to be, and I thought it was going to be Sophie, the girlfriend of our main protagonist, just because she came there unannounced. They talk about this whole thing where she didn't say anything in the group chat, and they're all offended by that. She's recovering. She wanted to play bodies, bodies, bodies. So that was my pick until a certain point. Now, here's where I will say, and this is what usually I guess I could say this for the end, but if we've seen the film, you've seen the film, if you're listening to this review, then you don't care. What's revealed is what happened to Pete Davidson was just an unfortunate event. Earlier in the movie, Greg comes out, Lee Pace's character, with this bottle of wine, very expensive. He has like I think they call it like a grifter sword, but it looks like a machete. Takes off the lid, and then wine's going everywhere, drinking it. And, Davison's just looking at him like unimpressed. And then later on, we get certain characters finding a video. He's making a TikTok right before it happened of him trying to do the same thing, and the knife slips and he cuts his throat. So nobody was the killer. And that's where I was. So what happens was you got Pete Davidson, that happens to him. And then after that, who is the second one? They think it's Greg because he's the new guy. Even though I knew that eventually they're gonna blame our main character because she's been dating her girlfriend for 6 weeks. This guy's only been dating the girlfriend for 2. But it's like, well, eventually it's gonna go. They're gonna go from, okay, who do we know the least, and they confront him. And there's this great, there's an awesome scene. This is a scene that like Taylor would appreciate because sometimes we have similar humor like that where, so they were playing bodies. He left because Pete Davidson was being an asshole, right? He doesn't know he's dead. He went to go like sleep on like the gym floor and everything like that. And he had headphones in, like all these things. Like, we tried to call you, where are you? Like, even then they're like, oh, he's a sleep depression mask, and they look at him, and he just has this like creepy looking mask. It is for sleeping. It's completely normal, but in the context of us thinking he's the killer, of course they're like, they all surround him. They have knives. He's like, oh, is this that werewolf game? And no one really responds. And then like a madman, he starts running around at them. Just in an innocent way because he thinks like, oh, he's finally playing the game, but does not know what happened. And he's freaking out because they're not communicating the best. And then our main character B ends up murdering him because she thinks he's going for Sophie, his girlfriend, like an attacker. Hits him with a dumbbell, hits him again, and just flat out kills him. So they think, okay, we got Greg. That's all good. And then you got later on a scene with Emma. She was the girlfriend of Pete Davidson, and there's tons of like, I'm not gonna get into it. There's tons of things where it's just like they randomly will in the middle of the scene make it really awkward by, oh, at least we fuck, like you and Pete Davidson's character's name was David, you guys don't fuck. And then he gets like, what do you mean, you're talking about a relationship? She's like, no, we fuck, like we have sex like an appropriate amount. And then it's like, no, she tells me you guys barely do. Like, throughout what happens is you can tell all these people, because of the situation where someone thinks someone has murdered another one of their friends or just one of their friends, their insecurities and all the things they're holding down about almost maybe lying to one another start to come out in accusatory tone, because they probably don't think their friend's a killer, but they have like X, Y, and Z of why they don't like their friend. And now that turns into X, Y, and Z is the reason this person is a killer. And what happens is, the beginning of the movie, they show a lot of tension. Before the murders, they start to unravel like a little bit of their people's issues. And it seems like everybody has an issue with one another. Maybe it's like a group of 6, and maybe one like pair is a little closer, but then the rest of them, they don't get along. And it seems like they're all friendly, but it just seems that things have been like on a boiling point, and they're not saying things, but they probably wouldn't, because they'd probably just play it cool. In real life, there's no murder to get through the weekend, but they don't. They're under pressure, and all this stuff happens, so they're freaking out. And the big thing about Sophie is she's a recovering drug addict, alcoholic, just a substance abuse user, right? So she was my pick until that happened. It was like a 1-2 punch, because I was like, everything was tracking. Like, okay, she made the game. Like I said, I thought the group chat was something off. They kept mentioning that, like maybe she is just pissed. But once she did drugs around that time, there's this great scene because Pete Davidson's her best friend. She's searching his house, searching Monopoly, because she knows he used to have a stash of, like, I think it's ecstasy or some sort of pill. And there's Emma. She bumps into Emma, Pete Davidson's girlfriend, who has this like epiphany for everyone to, she wants everyone to care or like love her. So at one point she's being offered a pill, and she starts to make out with our second lead here, Sophie. And so he's like, I'm not into that, like you just want to be loved by everybody, but that's not me. I'm into this other person. And she walks away like all offended and everything like that, takes her pill, and we find her and she's at the bottom of the stairs, head broke, like busted in, completely dead. That's where it shifted. And this is where I say it was somewhat unpredictable, because up until that point, that okay, my choice was Sophie, and then it was literally within 5 minutes that she starts to do cocaine, drugs, and I'm like, probably not her, because I don't think the killer would be doing this unless she was lying about her addiction. And then the Emma thing happens, and then I did figure out that okay, these people are dying accidentally. At first, I was like, and I didn't even think about the knife, because they find the grifter knife that killed Pete Davidson, right? And they think, because what happened was, like I said earlier, Lee Pace's character does that with the wine bottle, and he found the knife, and Peter was like, don't take that off the wall. But I thought, because they do this whole thing where there's a storm, of course there's no signal, anything like that, there's a big storm, there's rain and debris. I thought one of these, especially at the end, they like move a branch. It was not what I was I was not right about it, but I thought they were gonna say like some sort of tree hit Pete Davidson. And I was already thinking that before, like, oh, what if he died accidentally? But I'm like, maybe like this is still who done it. But then once I saw Emma at the bottom of the stairs, I knew okay. So either, and this is where I was thinking the whole film, I figured it out, and people kept dying in accidental ways, right? Pete Davidson wasn't sure, but just thought something cut his neck. Obviously, Greg, he got like it was a misunderstanding and they killed him, and then she found it on the stairs because the way they did edit it, which can happen in a Scream film, right, where they edit in a way where none of the characters could have been the killers, but somehow they miraculously pulled it off. This feels like it's living the real world where it shows, hey, none of these characters could have likely done this, and it's because they didn't, So I was pretty sure, but the thing was, there's lots of signs of different characters. So I thought, okay, if my theory is completely wrong, and if it's not accidental, I didn't know anybody who it could be, and it makes sense because nobody was the killer. By the time I'm like, man, if it's not accidental, they really fucking got me here, and that's where you still don't know 100%. Now, to me, when I knew 100% was at one point, a bunch of the girls are wrestling for a gun. A gun becomes a big storyline, and in the middle, there's a last group of four: Sophie B, Alice, and Jordan, and it's pretty much just a back and forth of reasons why you're the killer, reason why you're the killer. Like our main lead, she gets locked out, and there's just little stuff which is great because she gets locked out in the car. Jordan's this character that they introduced that you can tell used to have some sort of uh, relationship or something with her main character's girlfriend. She's looking very, the classic jealous look. She like tries to put moves on B a little bit to like maybe get back at her. But at one point, they lock B at the house. They think she's the killer because she lied about her job. She lied about graduating. All revealed for different reasons of why, to take care of mom and stuff. But on paper, it's like she's already lying. We can't trust her. She's new. They lock her out, and the film is good at little stuff like she's just good. She gets it. Like I said, there's a storm. She gets into a car to stay warm. She finds a pair of underwear that's not hers and not the girlfriend's, and they start to like thread this chain and thread this needle and stuff like that. Because then when they get back in, they're all arguing again, and then Jordan's kind of throwing it in Sophie's face, the girlfriend of our main character, that they hooked back up and they fucked in their car and all this stuff. And she says to check her text, and they never get to check the text, but B found the underwear, right? So she already is not believing her. So that's where, again, it's just little stuff where, okay, she, yes, is lying, and she's lying about a relationship, but that doesn't make her a murderer. But in the context of one of these people are a murderer and this person's lying to me, do I want to trust them? What else could they be lying about? And each character has that. And in this moment, the four girls left, the Alice, the last one, who was the girlfriend of Craig, 2-week girlfriend, R.I.P. There's a wrestling for the gun. Really fun scene, very funny. Of just like it's falling, they're like rolling over each other. One got shot in the leg because Jordan gets really pissed and shoots Alice in the leg, and they're like laying on my leg. All these good things are happening as far as like comedic beats. It's all working. And that chapter is, or that portion is when there's throwing just woke millennial tagline after tagline after tagline. And it's good because the scene to me poses it as a way as they're kind of pathetic in this moment. They're just trying to get one up on another, and they're just throwing sand in each other's eyes. But when I had the nail in the coffin of it was the accidents, was they're wrestling for the gun and they accidentally shoot Alice. I was like, okay, this is like the third accidental death. This one was super confirmed. At that point, I was solid. But in that middle portion from death 3 to 4, I was like, there's still a chance it could be a killer. And if it is, I'm so confused because they got me on the ropes. There's a reason for all of them. They're all having evil looking faces and stuff like that. And yeah, to jump to the very end, it's down to Sophie and B, the two former, girlfriends and whatnot. She asked her, "Did you fuck her?" And like, "No, I love you." And that was true. Where Sophie at the beginning of the film said, "I love you," and she's like, "You don't got to say it back." She never says it back. Um, and then all these shenanigans happen. She hides from her, runs because she starts to think that she can't trust her. Jordan gets taken out because she gets flinged off the stairs and goes through glass tables and stuff. So our couple is worried one another. Specifically, our protagonist is worried about about her girlfriend, about actually being the killer. There's all these signs, right? Lying, some other stuff along the way, texts that she won't show her, and then they hide at night in the house. B's trying her best to get out of there. She starts to sneak away, and there's this great shot of Sophie runs up and like hugs her, like around the neck and holding a gun. So they frame it first away like she might be taking her, but no, it's literally just a hug because she loves her and misses her. She's like, "I've been looking for you all night." Our main character gets the gun, and there's this big reveal where they try and get the phone, and they find a phone. It's Pete Davidson's phone, and they're like, "What's going on? Like, this is my phone." They open up, and that's where again they talk about the TikTok, where okay, or that shows the TikTok of he was just trying to open this wine bottle, and that screwed all up. And every death was accidental or like a manslaughter, and because of a bad situation, and because certain things like Sophie, our character, I guess I didn't mention the girlfriend of our main character, she she fell off the rock or did oh I guess I did yeah she did a bunch of drugs, so that's where you go, okay, is she just erratic? Like this has been probably the worst night, easily the worst night of their lives. And they set up this one character named Max where I guess with Pete Davidson's character and his girlfriend, they were doing shrooms, and he just admitted that he loved his girlfriend. At first, it was kind of fun and all fun and games and stuff like that. But then I guess it got serious. They fought, and the whole movie they're hinting at that. And that was the third one where at one point I'm like, okay, is it just this guy? I'm like, I guess that could be a reason. They kept talking about Max, but they haven't brought him back. But I thought there's a tad bit, if you don't do the work or show us, that's going to be very disappointing. But he's not there to kill anybody. He just shows up when our two protagonists here are figuring out that, oh, this was just an accident. None of this happened because they really didn't trust each other. And it seems like there's one moment where she just, I can't remember. Oh, it's like some sort of like, again, millennial term where it's just like my history baggage is keeping, my history baggage is making me be your friend. It was, like I said, whatever the phrase was, because there were some things that the second they got shot, like said, I'm like, right, I have heard this, but they're not things I hear in my daily life because I don't talk like that, or no one around me talks like that, right? You hear expressions, but that's about it. But yeah, the whole thing was each murder was an accident or a bad miracle, as Nope would say. None of it was on purpose, other than maybe some self defensing. None of it was on purpose, and now they kind of realize that, man, their lives are completely over because Max goes, "What's happened here?" And they just look at each other, and then it ends. And that's where like it sounds like a pretty simple movie, but to me, it was clever and enjoyable, and there's some good humor in there. And I don't think it is too simple. I think in the moment, unless you do figure it out, which even for me, once I figure out, okay, these are probably accidents, it didn't ruin the movie because there's some fun character dynamics happening. And we've all been there, whether you have been in the group of people or you've seen that group of friends where it's just you're not jiving. And there's things that, of course, when you are friends with somebody and they maybe do something, you maybe hold it in, you go, okay, well, they're my friends, so I don't want to call them out on that. But if that thing starts to build, like each time they're taking shots, like, oh, we know about your trust fund. Oh, we know, like, this guy wanted nothing to do with you. That's what he was saying before he died. Like, they're just taking low shots, and it's just trying to be better than one another. And again, it shows that maybe they just sat down more and talked, and they probably could have figured it out, but because they had kind of all this underlining um, issues with one another, that took prominence, and that didn't make them see clearly what's going on, and that also made them think each other, one of them was a killer, and it cost them their lives. Except for two main characters, which I didn't know what was going to happen, if they were going to lie and just blame it on one person, or they're just going to try to explain the accidents because Max talks to them and they just look shocked, and then the movie ends. So yeah, I think my enjoyability, I think where I'm going to go on this, I'm going to go a 9. Yeah, 9 out of 10. That's where I am. Any cons? I'm trying to think because I had one on the bike right over now. This sounds terrible. Like, I can't give you a con, but either way, maybe I'll try and think of it. If not, it's not the greatest horror film I've never seen. It's not like the greatest film of the year or the decade or anything like that. But to me, it's a great, for what its genre is. I'm not trying to sound like maybe an insult, but no, what the genre it's playing at, I think it was most of the time a knock at the park. There's like maybe some like weaker acting here and there, but most of the time, I think it delivered. What I wanted was a very good time, and we got some fun social commentary with a good mystery. And even though I kind of figure out some aspects of it, I was never fully on board to one moment. And even then, still watching the whole movie, I was like, okay, this is still good. Because some movies are bad, and then once you figure out the trick or the twist, that's it. They're just bad, but they depend on the twist. Like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. You don't need this. Even if it would have been all of them being murdered, I would have enjoyed this film. So, yeah, and there's a lot of people here I've seen for the first time that I'm excited to see in other stuff. So, yeah, if you saw Bodies, 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 let me know on the Discord, YouTube, Twitter, everything like that, what you thought if or when you figured out the mystery, some of your favorite moments. Yeah, it was an enjoyable time, a good time, and that's all you can ask for the theater, right? So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in this review, and I promise we'll hear from you next.